Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Space News Pod. This is a show about SpaceX, NASA, and spaceflight, and I'm your host, Will Weldon. Today's episode is going to be focusing on some juicy drama, some spicy drama over at NASA. Now, we have been looking into the NASA Artemis programs for a very long time here on the channel. Artemis 2 is coming up. There should be people flying around the moon in the next few years, but NASA still has some drama from Artemis 1 that they have to take care of, some technical difficulties that happened to the heat shield on its way back to Earth. So the Orion heat shield had some charring, some extra charring that they weren't expecting, and that's not a good thing. They're still working on this, and that's okay. You know, that was a test article, and they're still trying to figure out what happened to the heat shield of Artemis 1's Orion program. Now, let's bring in the NASA Inspector General into this case here. Okay, so the Inspector General basically takes care of all the fraud and makes sure that NASA is responsible with their money. They do inspections, they do investigations, they do all things that pertain to NASA to make sure that the organization is running up to par. Now, just recently, they had a scathing review of the Artemis program, basically saying a lot of the systems there are redundant. A lot of the things that they have, they don't really need them. They've used too many options that do the same thing. And now the Inspector General is putting this out into the world. And they did this on Wednesday. So just yesterday. Okay, so there were a few things that they touched on. And one of them was the cost of the Artemis missions. Each one of these missions is super expensive. Now let's actually look at how much money it might cost a Starship to fly to the moon by itself. Elon Musk has said once they get this Starship down to a fully reusable vehicle, meaning the booster and the ship can land back at Mechazilla and be refurbished and reflown, each one of these missions could be $2 million per flight. And maybe those aren't the moon missions, those might be low Earth orbit missions, but even if we take that into consideration, we have a $2 million hard stop at the bottom. Even if it's $20 million to fly this thing to the moon, that's reasonably less than the $86 billion that NASA is spending on the Artemis program, and $2 billion per launch of the Space Launch System. So $10 to $20 million, let's just put in $20 million. That's not a big deal. $100 million compared to $2 billion per launch of the SLS rocket. $2 billion. What can NASA be doing with $2 billion? Deep space exploration. They can also be sending more people to the moon. It doesn't make any sense. So mainly the Inspector General was like, hey, this thing costs a lot of money. It costs $2 billion per launch. And even worse than that, NASA, as a news channel here, they clapped back. That's some drama right there. They clapped back. The NASA, let's see, what is it? The Administrator for Exploration Systems Development Mission Directorate said NASA is dedicated to continuous enhancement of our processes and procedures to ensure safety and address potential risks and deficiencies. However, the redundancy in the above recommendations does not help to ensure whether NASA's programs are organized, managed, and implemented economically, effectively, and efficiently. Now, Eric Berger wrote on Ars Technica this statement. A careful reading of the second sentence reveals that they feel that the Inspector General's efforts are both redundant and unhelpful. This is not accidental language. The response was certainly reviewed by NASA's senior managers who could have flagged and removed the text. And yet they went through with it. So it seems like NASA and the Inspector General kind of don't see eye to eye here. They don't seem like they're working together like they should be working together, cutting costs, figuring out ways to make the program more cost effective, not just for NASA. NASA uses money from us from the taxpayers. So if it's going to cost $2 billion per launch, if you could get that down to $20 million to $100 million compared to $2 billion as a taxpayer, and I'm sure other taxpayers out there, if they know that the Space Launch System and Starship could do very similar things, if not Starship can do it better, then why wouldn't they cut it down to $100 million to launch this thing? Just use a Starship. Now I know. Now let's stop right there. SLS is a fully functional rocket right now. They've had a full test around the moon. Other than the Orion heat shield, there's small things they have to take care of, but the Orion heat shield is the biggest one. Heat shields are very difficult, very, very difficult. One of the most difficult things you can do in space flight is to build a heat shield that can withstand coming back into Earth's atmosphere. Now, that being said, we know that the rocket works. Starship doesn't go to the moon yet. Not yet. It's supposed to before the Artemis 3 missions. It's supposed to do a soft landing on the moon. And before then, they're supposed to do an in-orbit refueling. They're supposed to have people go from either a Dragon capsule to a Starship, or from probably not Orion, but some other capsule. More than likely a Dragon capsule going into a Starship, and then they can transfer people, right? So then at least they have some people in orbit, but they haven't sent anything around the moon yet. So the reason why they stuck with SLS is because, one, it's already there. It's already pretty much done. For Artemis 2, they just stick some people in there. I know it's a little bit more difficult than that. I know. It's tough, right? There's a lot of factors. They can't just put people in the Orion capsule. There's a lot of things that have to happen before those people go to the moon. So Starship, not ready to go to the moon. SLS looks pretty close to ready, except for the Orion heat shield. If they can't nail that, if they can't figure that out, there's no reason to continue the SLS program if the Starship can go around the moon and come back unscathed. And that's what SpaceX is working on right now. They're doing in-orbit refueling. They're going to transfer humans. And from there, they're going to catch the booster and catch the ship. And once that's done, the space is the limit, right? I was going to say the sky's the limit, but it's not the limit. They can go wherever they need to go, because once they can refuel in orbit, they can get as much fuel as they need to go orbit the moon. And of course, there's the Dear Moon project, which would see MZ and a bunch of other artists fly around the moon in the future. If that's still going to happen, we don't know. But you can also possibly book a Starship flight soon-ish after the end of 2024, because you can do a custom Dragon capsule orbit around the Earth coming up at the end of this year. So you can book it too. Go to SpaceX.com and check out the human spaceflight system, or human spaceflight link at the top, and you too could fly around the Earth. Now, if SpaceX can nail all those things before Artemis 4 or 5, do you think they're going to cancel the Artemis program as we see it now with the Space Launch System? Because the Space Launch System guarantees taxpayer money to almost all the states in the United States. So if SpaceX can continue their Starship program, it's only in Texas. They do have some suppliers around, but it's nothing like the Space Launch System. Nothing like that. That's basically almost every state has a Space Launch System. It's a tough one. And I don't even know where to start with this, because on one hand, I love to have mega rockets available to launch at any time. SLS is a mega rocket. Starship, mega rocket. Also Blue Origin, New Glenn, mega rocket. Who knows what they could put a capsule on there too. And if they could get their costs down to $100 million per launch too, who says that NASA can't pick Blue Origin over SpaceX for transporting people to the moon? There's a possibility, especially with a mega rocket like Blue Origin's New Glenn. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure what they're going to do with that, but it's just it's a weird spot to be in right now, because NASA is kind of infighting, and that doesn't seem like a good thing. The NASA Inspector General is there to keep you in check, people at NASA. I don't know what you're doing. And if the NASA Inspector General says you're doing things redundantly, then you're probably doing something wrong. I mean, Take accountability for your actions, of course, but also, if they're wrong, tell them they're wrong. Don't make it in a snarky comment. That doesn't make any sense. I love NASA, and I love that. I love all spaceflight, but I'm just expressing my feelings about this, that somebody should be accountable, whoever it is, whether it's the Office of the Inspector General. Maybe they did some bad stuff. Who knows? But we're gonna find out. So stay tuned. Also, if you like spaceflight, hit the thumbs up button because you've been listening and watching this long. That's great. I appreciate that. And also, if you could subscribe, I'd appreciate that too. We're on our way to 100,000 subscribers. But here's the ticket. Here's the deal. If you subscribe to this channel, not only will you get this channel, but you'll get all sorts of new spaceflight channels in your feed because you subscribed and you liked this channel. If you leave a comment down below, just an emoji, that's all you need to do. Just a little rocket emoji or something. That'll also show YouTube that you like spaceflight content, and they're going to keep sending you things in your algorithm. So I get a new subscriber, which I'm happy about. I'm very happy that you're here, and I'm happy you spent this time here with me today. But it's more for you than for me. So subscriber count doesn't really matter on YouTube anymore. It's all about the algorithm. It's all about engagement. So subbing, thumbs up, and a comment really help the engagement and help push out this content more and help grow this channel. So without you, I couldn't do this. I want to say thank you. I appreciate every single one of you. And until next time, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in the next one.